staffers has been charged with trafficking cocaine. Lamar Cook was arraigned in Western Mass today.
The ink on the governor's official seal was barely dry when the rot began to fester. Forget the sanitized press releases. We're talking about the precise moment when bureaucracy became the perfect Trojan horse for narcotics trafficking. You think the cartels are just operating in the shadows? Think again. They figured out the fastest route through America wasn't across the Rio Grande. It was via interdepartmental mail stamped and sealed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts itself. This isn't just a scandal. It's a masterclass in systemic exploitation, and it all shattered the quiet darkness just before dawn. At precisely 5:17 a.m. on the 29th day of October in the year 2025, federal operatives executed a high-stakes search warrant at the state office building located at 512 Dwight Street, situated in Springfield, Massachusetts. The precise focus of this massive operation was Lamar Cook, a man of 45 years, holding the official title of Deputy Director within Governor Maura Healey's Western Massachusetts operations. According to the documents, officially filed by federal prosecutors, this tactical execution was a tightly coordinated venture involving multiple agencies: the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the United States Postal Inspection Service. The entire investigation had been triggered after federal authorities meticulously traced numerous packages exhibiting highly suspicious courier activity. These items were exclusively routed through established official government channels, and each one bore the indelible mark of the official state insignia, explicitly labeled as strictly confidential interdepartmental correspondence. Crucially, two preceding packages, both intercepted previously at the UMass Hotel facility in Amherst, the very location where Cook had served before his state appointment, were found to contain upwards of 13 kilograms of high-grade cocaine. The timing of the raid was impeccable. As agents breached the premises, Cook was reportedly in the process of signing for yet another parcel suspiciously marked with the same governmental correspondence label. Inside, his state-issued officers immediately discovered an identical, securely sealed package matching the prior shipment's packaging and weight profile. Alongside this, they recovered a 9mm handgun, two fully loaded magazines for that weapon, and an undisclosed quantity of hard currency. Unbelievably, every single incriminating item was situated directly upon his state-issued desk, the very same piece of furniture utilized daily for processing crucial public programs and official state paperwork. Cook offered absolutely no resistance during his apprehension. He now stands facing 3 serious felony counts: the trafficking of cocaine in substantial amounts, the illegal possession of a firearm, and possessing illicit ammunition. Prosecutors have forcefully asserted that the purity and professional packaging of the seized narcotics were unequivocally consistent with the distribution methods employed by established international cartels. During his formal arraignment proceedings at the Springfield District Court, Cook entered a firm plea of not guilty to all charges. His bail was ultimately set at $25,000, contingent upon the ongoing deeper investigation. Authorities have unequivocally stated that the probe remains highly active and carries the distinct possibility of expanding into other governmental offices where similar package transfers were logged. From Boston, Governor Maura Healey's office released a characteristically terse statement labeling the entire incident as completely unacceptable and representing a catastrophic breach of the public's fundamental trust. The governor's administration promptly confirmed that Mr. Cook's employment was terminated with immediate effect. However, as federal agents systematically carried sealed boxes brimming with evidentiary material out of a state facility, proudly bearing the official seal, a far more unsettling question began to dominate the narrative. If this level of deep corruption manages to take root and flourish inside the governor's own executive sphere, then precisely who remains vested with the authority to actually guard the guardians of the public trust? This, believe me, merely the preliminary skirmish. Remain tuned, because the truth is far more extensive. Drop your initial sharpest thoughts down below in the comments section and ensure you subscribe to this channel, as the pursuit of justice never observes downtime, and neither, I assure you, do week, mere hours following the arrest of Lamar Cook, the entire developing narrative instantly transcended the scope of one disgraced individual. Parked strategically on Dwight Street within a heavily fortified mobile command unit, the words "Integrity Sweep Phase 1" glowed ominously across a central digital screen. The comprehensive target list initially encompassed numerous state facilities, intrinsically linked to the documented suspicious courier activities. All facilities that critically shared the same former communication network utilized by Cook. Federal intelligence analysts, specifically those embedded within the DEA's sophisticated cyber intelligence unit, had successfully decrypted several vital files retrieved from Cook's secured government-issued laptop. These files exposed meticulously organized spreadsheets bearing the chillingly understated designation "snowlines." Every single entry within these ledgers correlated precisely with specific dates, the exact weight of the intercepted parcels, and the logistical route taken, tracing the path from Amherst directly to Springfield and finally terminating in Boston. Investigators noted that every single shipment displayed identical identifying markers to the physical boxes that had already been seized. Official state seals, uniquely coded serial labels, and even stamps denoting diplomatic-grade courier handling. Investigators have now formulated a strong belief that Cook's operation was far from an isolated incident of opportunistic crime. The established courier route, initially engineered solely for the secure transport of highly confidential government documents, had been systematically weaponized and entirely repurposed to facilitate the trafficking of cartel-grade cocaine, all operating brazenly under the veneer of bureaucratic legitimacy. Each individual package, once successfully delivered, commanded an estimated street value hovering near $1 million. For months on end, these illicit consignments sailed completely undetected through the very logistical infrastructure explicitly designed to safeguard the integrity of the Commonwealth. A senior-ranking official within the DEA, speaking off the record, later characterized the scheme as the most astonishingly sophisticated perversion of official government logistics we have encountered across the entirety of New England. Furthermore, internal memoranda obtained exclusively by our newsroom have definitively confirmed that no fewer than 3 additional state offices across the expanse of Massachusetts are presently undergoing intense review due to the discovery of startlingly similar operational irregularities. These specific auxiliary investigations, we must note, remain entirely sealed from public view for the moment. By the time the morning sun fully crested the horizon, the governor's entire communications apparatus was fully engaged in damage control, feverishly attempting to frame the shocking incident as a mere unfortunate aberration, emphatically not a systemic representation of the overall state culture. However, the hard data uncovered told an entirely divergent, far more damning narrative, one strongly suggesting deep-seated systemic complacency rather than simple random coincidence. In a commonwealth where the concept of accountability has regrettably devolved into little more than a convenient political slogan, this aggressive federal investigation is now forcefully compelling Massachusetts to demonstrate under intense pressure whether that concept still holds any tangible meaning whatsoever. If you harbor the naive belief that this entire sordid affair involved only a single isolated corrupt official, I urge you to drastically reconsider that assessment. Keep following this evolving story, because the accumulated evidence clearly indicates a far more pervasive structure at play. What commenced as a targeted sting operation in Springfield had with shocking speed metastasized into what can only be accurately described as a statewide deep cleaning purge. As daylight broke, the mandated parameters of the integrity sweep had aggressively expanded well beyond the confines of Springfield. Federal Command Headquarters authorized a synchronized deployment of simultaneous high-profile raids across Amherst, Holyoke, Worcester, and the capital city of Boston, all metropolitan areas now demonstrably tied to the very same highly compromised courier network initially uncovered through Cook's personal dealings. The operational objective underpinning this massive expansion was brutally straightforward: trace and isolate every single government facility that might have unwittingly served as a conduit for cartel narcotics, moving beneath an official, state-sanctioned seal. Per details gleaned from internal DEA briefings that our newsroom has been permitted to review, federal agents successfully executed more than 24 search warrants across the targeted locations between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. statewide. The array of targets was broad, including regional administrative offices, secure logistical storage depots, and crucially, various contracted logistics firms that held established connections to the official Massachusetts state courier, Matrix. Investigators utilizing meticulous financial forensics unearthed disturbing evidence of duplicate vendor accounts, a network of seemingly legitimate but ultimately hollow shell corporations, and a series of unauthorized electronic transfers that routed directly through firms suspiciously registered in jurisdictions as disparate as Providence, Rhode Island, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. On the surface, these transactions appeared perfectly ordinary, billed as standard expenditures for hospitality services or routine facility maintenance contracts. Yet the financial trail inexorably concluded in various offshore or untracked accounts, holding a staggering aggregate total exceeding $4.2 million in completely unreported funds. Sources possessing intimate familiarity with the progression of the federal investigation have described this entire operation less as a traditional drug bust, and more accurately as a calculated infiltration of governmental infrastructure. The cartels, it is now clear, did not struggle desperately to break times into time state systems. They masterfully utilized the systems already in place. Cook's specific executive credentials granted him the exceptional unchecked authority to unilaterally approve interdepartmental deliveries valued up to $50,000 without requiring any secondary sign-off whatsoever. This delegation of power, ostensibly designed for streamlined administrative efficiency, had been fatally transformed into an unsecured open corridor for criminal enterprise. Every single courier shipment, meticulously disguised as vital state correspondence, exploited that specific loophole to bypass all standard security vetting protocols. By the middle of the morning, a significant administrative fallout had taken hold. No fewer than a dozen state employees were immediately placed on mandatory administrative leave, pending the outcome of comprehensive internal reviews. The Massachusetts Office of Public Integrity officially confirmed the immediate suspension of multiple critical courier routes and initiated sweeping procurement audits across 3 distinct executive departments. Officials have, citing the volatile nature of the ongoing federal investigation, steadfastly refused to disclose which specific agencies are currently implicated, though they did concede that the scope of the compromised network was substantially broader than initial estimates suggested. Politically, the ramifications of the unfolding scandal began propagating faster than the federal investigation could proceed. Leading opposition figures launched scathing direct accusations against the Healy administration, pointing toward profound systemic negligence and oversight. Conversely, administration supporters argued with equal vehemence that this type of deep-seated corruption was not inherently partisan, but rather deeply embedded within the very culture of state governance. Within the rarefied, cloistered atmosphere of the State House staffers, privately began referring to the entire sprawling federal operation as the sweep within the sweep. Court documents later submitted revealed a truly alarming fact. 3 separate packages directly linked to Cook's sophisticated network had been processed explicitly through the governor's own high-security interagency mailroom between the months of August and October. Each package had been logged officially cleared through the system and delivered without any mandatory physical inspection. Massachusetts had certainly taken considerable pains to construct robust safeguards against external threats. It had simply failed to anticipate the day when the most dangerous threat would emerge organically from within its own ranks. Within mere hours following the initiation of the Integrity Sweep raids, the entire Beacon Hill complex descended into a palpable state of emergency crisis management. Telephone switchboards jammed perpetually. A tense silence settled over the offices as staffers exchanged fearful, hushed whispers behind locked doors. The governor's office was compelled to issue another formal statement, again branding Cook's documented conduct as both unacceptable and a profound violation of the sacred public trust. Yet in the relentless arena of Massachusetts, politics, mere words, invariably travel significantly slower than the velocity of public outrage. By the following morning, the headlines splashed across every major Boston news outlet carried the same stark, inescapable message: cocaine found at governor's office. Local conservative radio hosts denounced the incident as the complete and total collapse of governmental standards. Cable news discussion panels swiftly transmuted what was fundamentally a criminal probe into an exhaustive political autopsy. Governor Maura Healey, a leader usually renowned for her measured, carefully calibrated public demeanor, faced the relentless bank of cameras that afternoon. Her vocal delivery remained steady, but the heavy toll of the crisis was visibly etched onto her face. "We are cooperating completely and transparently with all federal authorities," she declared. "The fundamental integrity of this office will absolutely not be compromised again on my watch." It was a carefully crafted, stabilizing phrase delivered directly into a hurricane of public chaos. Reporters pressed her, relentlessly demanding to know if Cook had acted entirely alone and if other critical state offices had also been compromised by this infiltration. She offered no direct affirmation, simply reiterating the carefully chosen phrase, "The investigation remains ongoing." For the concerned voting public, that official silence sounded dangerously akin to an admission of guilt. Behind the heavy locked doors, the State Ethics Commission, working in tandem with the Attorney General's dedicated Integrity Division, immediately launched what insiders would later term the sweep within the sweep. Decades-old personnel files were hastily reopened for scrutiny. Every historical background check was systematically re-examined for any latent red flags. Within 5 days of the initial raid, an astonishing 17 state employees were placed on administrative suspension, pending further intensive review. No formal charges were filed against them, only the corrosive shadow of suspicion. In the unforgiving ecosystem of government, suspicion alone can function as an immediate professional death sentence. Sources privy to the internal dynamics report that the pervasive atmosphere inside Beacon Hill instantly shifted to something cold, surgical, and ruthlessly methodical, a climate dominated by self-preservation. Official laptops were confiscated. High-level access cards were electronically disabled, and entire departmental sections were sealed off under strict audit command. Back in Springfield, the door to Cook's former office suite remained hermetically taped shut. His identifying nameplate had been abruptly removed, yet his looming shadow seemed to permeate every subsequent briefing and strategy session. Talk radio hosts screamed accusations of political hypocrisy from the rooftops. Opposition-funded advertising campaigns were running by midnight, fiercely accusing the Healey administration of having utterly lost operational control over its own executive branch. But a more discerning segment of observers saw something far more profound lurking beneath the surface of the scandal. They perceived not just isolated corruption, but rather a deeply entrenched system finally being forced to confront its own unvarnished reflection. One seasoned State House reporter aptly summarized the situation: Massachusetts didn't actually discover corruption here, it discovered itself. If you genuinely believe this extensive network points only to the criminal actions of one man, you are fundamentally missing the magnitude of the evidence. The data reveals a structure built upon toxic loyalty, intentional blindness, and trust that metastasized into rot. Follow this narrative closely, because we are only midway through uncovering the totality of the story. By the culmination of that transformative week, the political landscape of Massachusetts looked less like a functioning state government and more like an enormous, sprawling courtroom delineated by city boundaries. The comprehensive integrity sweep had brutally exposed a pervasive rot that no amount of internal auditing or public relations spin could ever effectively bleach away. 17 suspensions, the seizure of countless critical operational records, and the venerable golden dome of the State House now stood dimmed under the harsh glare of intense national scrutiny. Inside the State House walls, the official tone rapidly pivoted away from desperate denial toward an urgent, almost frantic posture of reconstruction. State lawmakers moved with unprecedented velocity to draft what would subsequently become the landmark Public Integrity Reform Act, a piece of legislation mandating the creation of a truly independent ethics oversight body endowed with the sweeping, undeniable authority to audit any branch or agency of government without the requirement of prior notification. This critical bill sailed through both chambers in record time, passing by a vote of 72-3, a rare fleeting moment of shared bipartisan shame, cleverly disguised as political cooperation. Governor Healy, appearing visibly fatigued and flanked by her closest equally exhausted advisors, publicly announced the immediate establishment of a temporary high-powered integrity task force. Its sweeping mandate was comprehensive to conduct an exhaustive review of every single contract, every official courier manifest, and every hiring log across the entirety of the executive branch operations. This newly formed team soon reported the identification of over 2,000 highly irregular transactions. Not every single one necessarily criminal, but every single one demonstrably negligent. An internal memo summarizing their initial findings later used the stark phrase, "a deeply ingrained culture of assumed honesty," without any verifiable mandated verification process. In Amherst, the former location of the UMass Hotel, which served as a pivotal nexus for the trafficking network, was swiftly converted into a center dedicated to addiction recovery and rehabilitation services. Officials publicly heralded this move as profoundly symbolic, a gesture intended to transform documented contamination into a visible form of societal redemption. However, the residents and local activists were decidedly unimpressed by the political theater. One protester voiced the community's frustration. "Outside the facility, we are not interested in flowery poetry right now. We demand tangible, enforceable accountability." Public anger, having burned white-hot, initially began to cool into a more profound, chilling state of sustained disbelief. A comprehensive public opinion survey conducted by the prestigious Massing Institute revealed a stark statistic: 61% of all Massachusetts voters firmly believed that the overall integrity of their state government suffered permanent, irreversible decline. An additional 24% flatly asserted that in their view, true governmental integrity had never genuinely existed in the Commonwealth to begin with. For a state that has historically prided itself on its reputation for progressive governance and civic advancement, that particular metric struck far deeper than any criminal indictment possibly could. Meanwhile, the DEA's evidence repository in Boston had by necessity begun to resemble a grim museum dedicated to systemic betrayal. Rows upon rows of perfectly bricked cocaine packages sat next to stacks of unmarked currency envelopes. Sidearms recovered from the operation were lined up neatly on steel tables. The haul included a staggering 2.7 tons of seized narcotics, 133 assorted weapons, and an accumulated $9 million in liquid assets confiscated. Every single evidence label seemed to read like a detailed bureaucratic confession typed out in a sterile official font. One veteran DEA agent, speaking quietly to reporters, offered a sobering perspective. "This isn't victory we are witnessing here. This is containment." Even after the flurry of televised press briefings had concluded and the news cycle moved on, the corrosive damage inflicted upon public faith persisted in the silence of everyday governmental operations. State offices quietly repainted their drab walls, meticulously reissued identification badges to all personnel, and laboriously redrafted dozens of compromised operational policies. Yet the very air within the State House still seemed to carry one indelible, lingering odor, the sharp scent of burnt, destroyed trust. In the brutal calculus of modern politics, recovery is almost never synonymous with true redemption. It is more often than not merely survival achieved under demonstrably better lighting. Months inevitably passed, but the pervasive, heavy shadow cast by the initial Springfield bust never truly lifted from the Commonwealth's political landscape. Inside every state agency, every new administrative policy carried an unofficial, unspoken footnote: integrity reviewed. Yet the deeper, more critical audit being conducted by the citizenry was not one of government paperwork or procedural manuals. It was a searching, difficult audit of conscience. At the Hampton County Jail, Lamar Cook now awaits the commencement of his formal trial. His legal counsel continues to repeat the same cautious line to the perpetually weary press corps. My client maintains unequivocally his innocence. But for the broader citizenry of Massachusetts, the ultimate verdict had already been delivered, not within the formal confines of a courtroom, but through the ongoing, impassioned court of public discourse. The court of public opinion, after all, requires no jury box, no strict rules of evidence, and renders judgment instantly. Across the entire state, communities began the arduous, necessary work of constructing something far more robust and enduring than transient outrage, a system of self-defense rooted firmly in radical transparency. Independent civic watchdog groups spontaneously organized citizen audit boards. Local high schools reacting to the crisis moved swiftly to integrate formal ethics training and civics education into their standard curriculum. Even local police departments voluntarily opened their quarterly operational reviews to direct unfiltered citizen oversight committees. This was not reform imposed meekly from the distant apex of government. This was redemption being built determinedly from the grassroots level upward. In Boston, on the solemn one-year anniversary of the initial integrity sweep, hundreds of citizens gathered silently at dusk near the State House. There were no inflammatory speeches, no loud slogans, only the soft glow of candlelight and profound silence filling the air. Families of individuals lost to the very narcotics trafficked through the state system stood shoulder to shoulder with career civil servants who maintained an unshakable belief in the foundational principles of their government. A woman near the front of the somber gathering whispered a single powerful sentence that cut through the quiet, "We are still worth saving." In a commonwealth founded upon the very spirit of revolution, that quiet declaration resonated with the sound of faith being fiercely rediscovered. As the first rays of the morning light struck the opulent gold dome of the State House once more, it gleamed undeniably, but it was fundamentally changed. The halls had been scrubbed clean. The internal policies had been painstakingly rewritten. The invasive, hungry cameras had finally been packed away. But lurking beneath the newfound polished marble calm, one stark, immutable truth lingered. Massachusetts had not conquered its corruption problem. It had merely managed to temporarily corner it. The final official report issued by the Federal Integrity Commission concluded with a sentence that read like a stark obituary for the concept of absolute certainty. The Commonwealth did not ultimately collapse due to external foreign enemies or overtly hostile powers. It succumbed, albeit briefly, to the insidious poison of complacency, to men who fatally mistook administrative access for personal absolution. Yet even within that damning conclusion, there existed a profound element of resilience born from that painful reckoning. Because democracies, when they are deeply betrayed, ultimately possess the fundamental capability to do precisely what they were designed to do. They look unflinchingly into the mirror, they forcefully name the reflection staring back, and then they commence the difficult process of beginning again. So as the morning news cycle inevitably shifts its focus elsewhere, and today's urgent headlines begin to fade into tomorrow's history, the essential question that we must carry forward remains uncomfortably clear if corruption possesses the insidious ability to grow unchecked inside the very office of the highest executive authority, who then is left entrusted with the solemn duty to guard the guardians. If you, the viewer, still retain a kernel of belief that true integrity can genuinely be rebuilt from this wreckage, please honor that belief by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel for ongoing updates, and sharing this deeply unsettling story. Because the relentless pursuit of justice never pauses for rest, and neither, I assure you, do we. In Massachusetts, integrity may still try to fly, but only after it has first experienced the catastrophic crash.